Yesterday, I was given the incredible opportunity to lead a conference on assessing students with mild to moderate disabilities in the classroom. And while I am thrilled that so many were able to attend this conference, I have recorded this summary for others to learn and grow from. Assessments are used so students can demonstrate knowledge, skills, and an understanding of the standards being taught. There are many ways to assess students. Some of the more typical ones include tests, quizzes, essays. But some of the more favorable ways to assess those with disabilities include a presentation, a conference where we just meet with them and talk about what they've learned, what they know, a performance task, taking a screencast of their work, doing virtual exit slips. It is best practice to use assistive technology whenever it is available and accommodations call for it. Some of the more popular ones to use, especially in assessments, would be something for speech recognition, a screen reader, audio recorders. Using these assistive technologies helps us get a more accurate representation of the student's knowledge. It's important that we highlight their abilities rather than their disabilities. If we know a student struggles with getting the written word out, but can orally speak what's in their brain, it's best that that's how we ask them questions so that they get everything that they know out. At the conference, I spoke on using a variety of assessments, both formal and informal, that allow teachers to get the data they need. The data is then analyzed to determine if students are meeting the standards, if the accommodations that we are using are inefficient, and if the progress is being made towards IEP goals. The results of the data allows teachers to determine what changes need to be made. Some of these changes may be related to the teacher's instruction, the interventions, accommodations that students in special education are receiving, and what short-term goals do we need to be set. We have our long-term goals typically set in the IEP, but it's great to always be editing those short-term goals. What do we need to do next to get to our ultimate goal? Because we use a variety of assessments, there are multiple types of data that we're going to get from these classroom assessments. We're going to get formative data, academic performance, we can be getting behavioral data, classroom observations, and student feedback. This data will be a mixture of qualitative and quantitative, which allows us to see the overall picture of our students. I also discussed that the data collected should be relevant to a student's educational standards and the IEP goals that we have set at the beginning of the year. All data should be considered confidential and should only be shared with those who truly need to know what the data entails for that particular student. Some of those people might be the general education teacher, a special education teacher, a paraprofessional who works with that student. The student themselves can know the data depending on the age, and then of course the parents. Consent to share must be given to discuss with anyone else that doesn't need to directly know that information. Assessment data needs to be stored securely where they can't be easily accessed by outsiders. This is confidential information. The effectiveness of assessment will be monitored and evaluated based on the patterns and trends in student performance. The goals of each assessment must be specific, measurable, and attainable. Some of the criteria that we use for setting any type of goal. The assessment data must be relevant to the set goals, and the results of the assessment must be shared with all stakeholders to prove its effectiveness. The results can be shared by sending the work directly home or a copy of the work home. An email could be sent home with the results, or a meeting could be held to discuss the assessment data. How it is shared depends on the type of assessment and the frequency in which the data needs to be shared. Some data might come home on a weekly basis, otherwise it might be a month or quarterly. Just a reminder that this is only a summary of my initial presentation. There is truly just so much more that could be said about assessments and data collecting for students with mild to moderate disabilities. I encourage you to do further research on your own or attend a conference to gain additional information.